Manx Radio's Countryside is brought to you by NFU Mutual.
Hello and welcome to Countryside here on Manx Radio. I'm Simon Clark.
And I'm Kirree. This week I catch up with Zoe Grundy, who's opening a Manx Cat Cafe.
And I find out from the project manager of the Pier Restoration Trust about how things have been going on the first phase of the pier restoration. Well, welcome to another Countryside programme with Kirree and Simon. And yeah, things on the farm, Kirree, moving slowly. People have been getting in. We've had a bit of rain, but we moaned about it months ago that you couldn't get on the ground, and now it's still a bit dry, isn't it?
It is. The rain has come and it's been very, very welcomed, and it's certainly changed the colour of the countryside. But my golly, it's been bitterly cold, especially for May. We've had an awful lot of sunshine through April, as they recorded a record month, but it was so bitterly cold, with the frosts in the morning and, not getting the heat that we need to grow the silage crops. I know that Will Duggan there at Ballavell and Ballasalla, he's silaged, and they snatched a few good days there, a bit of sunshine, but I'm not sure whether some of the other boys would be ready compared to what they are normally, whether there's the substance within the crop, I'm not sure, but just need some warmth now, Simon.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the silage forage harvesters out the north yet. So.
No, they were saying, Alan Tier was on the phone there the other day, and he was saying that they were desperate to get a bit of thickness through the crops. It had been very, very dry, and they were desperate for rain. So hopefully this rain will help things along.
Yes, but talking about helping things along, helping to promote the old Manx cats and things like that and the culture of the Isle of Man, you've been speaking to somebody who's put a bit of a new venture up in that area.
Indeed, Zoe Grundy, who we all know from Milan Vets as a veterinary nurse, has always loved Manx cats, and she actually keeps a few of the real proper Manx cats. They have as she'll explain in our interview there, how the Manx cat is and where it's come from originally. But she is now opening at the end of the month a cafe, a Manx Cat Cafe. And I caught up with Zoe at the Manx Cat Cafe to see what it was all about. Well, Zoe, I couldn't have met you in a nicer cafe. I believe this is a little project on the side of all the rest of the work you've been doing, but we'll talk about that just now. How did the love for Manx cats come about? Because obviously you're a Lancashire lass here on the Isle of Man now.
Yeah. So I moved over in 91 with my parents, and when I left school, I was here at school for 2 years, and then when I left school, I went into veterinary nursing. And we got a Manx cat, which was a pet of ours, and I fell in love with the breed, basically. Absolutely adore them. So, yeah, it's sort of gone from there, and obviously I love animals anyway, so, yeah. That's
brilliant. And Manx cats is something that we don't really see around the streets very much anymore on the island.
No, we don't. Unfortunately, numbers have declined. You tend to find you get Manx cats from farms and small holdings where they have cats anyway for vermin control, which is what they're very good at. And then you have people like me who are registered. So I'm a registered cat breeder. So I have to go through all the proper channels of getting them registered with the GCCF. And they have to be health screened, blood typed, vaccinated, microchipped, all that sort of stuff. And then they keep track of what cats I have and who I breed to who. So that's the official way of doing it, if you like. And then obviously you have pet breeders, so you have people that just have Manx cats and have kittens off them. So, yeah.
So you're saying before that, like I said, you don't see many cats pottering around in the streets, especially the short-tailed Manx traditional cat as we know it. But obviously there's a bit of a variation between the Manx cat with no tail.
Yeah, so a lot of people understand a Manx as being a rumpy, so the ones that you see on postcards and on the front of books and things like that. So you can actually get 4 different tail lengths. Rumpy is no tail at all. So basically it's just the end of the spine and then no tail. Then you get what's called a riser, which is anything between 1 and 3 vertebrae. So they practically look like a rumpy, but sometimes you'll see the little spine sort of flicker up at the end. Then you've got stumpy, which is anything between a riser and a full tail. So you can actually get cats, Manx, that have full tail. So you have the 4 tail lengths.
So there could be more Manx cats pottering around, genetically more Manx cats, but with a long tail.
Absolutely, yeah. One of my friends, who's also a breeder, but she's also a judge on cats, British Shorthairs and Manx, for the shows in the UK. And she came over on holiday and she went to the MSPCA. And she said most of the cats that were in there had tails, and she reckoned 95% of them were Manx.
Goodness, that's great to know, isn't it, really? Because we always think, oh, because it's got no tail, it's not Manx, they're just an ordinary house cat.
Yeah, but there are other things that show you that a Manx cat is a Manx cat regardless of the tail. So a lot of people say they have, or they probably know this, they've got long hind back legs, rabbity. Basically, so they're quite hair-like. So they're very rounded in shape, so they have a round head, round shoulders, round butt. But yeah, their back legs are longer. Their ears are quite slanted, so they're oblique, and their ears tend to curl a little bit on the end.
Oh, wow.
So there are other things you can look at and say, right, that has got Manx in it. I know it's got Manx in it. And you tend to find the tailed version of a Manx has a longer tail than, say, domestic shorthair. So a tailed, which I know sounds a bit bizarre because you expect them to have no tail, but a tailed Manx has a very long tail.
Well, these are certainly all points that we can all look out for now, because obviously, like I say, we just sort of stereotype the postcard, like you mentioned, the little pin badge, a cat with no tail, but obviously these little things we can look out for. But you're involved with lots of stuff, Zoe. Obviously, you've got your groups on Facebook as well that people can get involved with, the cat clubs.
Yeah, so I've got my breeder page, obviously, on Facebook. So I don't advertise my cats on there, but I do have a website as well if people want to get in touch, whether that's to go on the waiting list for a Manx cat or they just want to ask questions if they've got Manxes or into breeding, anything like that. So that's Triskelly Manx Cats. And then myself and a few of my friends formed the Manx Cat Alliance, which is basically a cat club to help other people. So if you are a breeder already, whether it's Manx or not Manx, whether you just have questions about breeding, whether you have questions about the breed, anything like that. So basically it's just a support group, really.
And with this, Zoe, there's a lot of people join the clubs and obviously get in touch with you. And obviously now you've opened this Manx Cat Cafe. Yes. It's very new. I think I've had a sneaky preview, haven't I?
You have, yes, you have, yeah. So obviously being a lover of animals in general, but cats and the Manx cat, I'm very passionate about it. I started thinking about the idea in 2019, and I did a lot of research. There were quite a lot of cat cafes in the UK, more than what you think, to be honest. So I researched it, and it was a bit of a long journey. We had to buy things, research, look into websites, properties, insurance, all that sort of stuff. And then we were stuck at finding a suitable property, and that was within our budget. We eventually found somewhere, simply by luck, to be fair. And so we started looking into that, and literally a week before we were due to sign the lease, we went into lockdown 1.
Oh, no. Yeah, so the launch of the cafe has certainly been put on hold.
Yeah, and then obviously when we came out of lockdown, we were then able to do all the renovations, because we've literally had to do everything from the floor to the ceiling. We've had to retrofit it, obviously, for the cats, so we've got scratching posts, and we've got the runways, as my husband likes, the high shelves which they can go.
And the idea for, like you just said, the scratching posts and the shelves, is this so people can bring their own cats, or are these your cats?
No, these are my cats. So if people were bringing their own cats, it would literally be carnage. So not all cats get on, and literally it would be a cat fight. So I have obviously my own Manx cats, because I breed anyway. Some of them are not suitable to bring down, so I can't bring my stud cat, obviously, because he would just annihilate the place. And one of my cats is actually a British Blue, but she's older now, so she's sort of retired. So out of the cats that I've got 5 that I can bring. I probably wouldn't have 5 here to start off with. I'd probably only have maybe 3 or 4, just until we, well, hopefully get a bigger property.
Well, where you are here, Zoe, though, is a lovely, perfect situation. You know, it's right in the heart of town.
Yes, it is, yes. That, again, was luck, because we were looking at properties in Ramsey, Castletown, a bit more, you know, out of the way, and we actually knew the person that had this property beforehand. So we're in Church Street, which is right next to the Rose Return, behind Town Hall. It is just one room. It's on the first floor. We don't have a lift, unfortunately, but we're quite happy to help anyone come in if they need assistance. And yeah, it is just one room. There are obviously toilets and facilities like that. And yeah, it should be enough for to start off with, I think.
And the idea of it is just to come and relax in, you're an animal lover or even just love cats, you can just come and chill out.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't have cats, or if they're in accommodation, they're not allowed pets. It's basically, there are a lot of cat lovers out there, and like you say, the numbers of Manxies has declined, which is a shame. I mean, they are our native breed. It's what epitomises the Isle of Man, isn't it? So, even if you've never seen a Manx cat, you can come down and at least hopefully interact with them if they're not sleeping. But they do sleep a lot, so bear with us.
So talking about the launch, when is it?
I'm hoping it's going to be the end of May. I haven't got a specific date, but I will post it up as soon as I've got it. The way we work here is that you pre-book a slot. So you need to go onto the website and pre-book a slot, which is an hour slot. It's £7 for your first hour, and then £6 every hour after that if you do block bookings, and you get free drink included in that price. But I'm waiting on the website to be up and running before I can launch. So hopefully that's going to be within the next week or two.
So we've got to keep our eyes peeled. And just quickly again, Zoe, the Facebook pages that people can reach you on.
So I've got the Manx Cat Cafe Limited. I've got a group there if you want to get in touch with us. My breeder page is Triskelly Manx Cats Isle of Man. And then we have the Manx Cat Alliance group as well, which is the Cat Club one.
That was Zoe Grundy that's opening the new Manx Cat Cafe.
Fairly unique by the sounds of it, Kirree, isn't it?
Very much so. As Zoe says there, they're around the world. They're very, very popular. And we wish her all the luck in the world when she opens at the end of the month. But do go along. It's absolutely beautifully decorated out. And obviously, if you don't keep pets, what an ideal way to spend a bit of time with animals.
Yeah, and it's still one of the things that get mentioned, isn't it? When you speak to people, the Isle of Man. Well, not in that accent, but they say, oh, yeah, that's where you got the cats with no tails, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's exactly what Zoe said about the postcard picture of the cat with no tail. And obviously, it was the breed. Lots of people say, like she says, they're inbred, etc. But it's not when you actually find the history and the genetics and how they're bred. What a fascinating story. And good luck to Zoe doing all of this to support the Manx cat.
You're listening to Countryside here on Manx Radio with Kirree Kermode and myself, Simon Clark. Well, 1886 it was opened, the Queen's Pier in Ramsey in the north of the Isle of Man. And it's fair to say it's got neglected and left, and there was many times where they thought the pier was going to have to be dismantled and took away. But a group got together and we'll find out where they're up to now. I caught up with the project manager for the Queen's Pier Restoration Trust, Captain Stuart Mackenzie, to find out more. And the fact that the Trust has reached probably a monumental milestone in the quest to restore the Queen's Pier.
Yes, I think you can probably say that because it's the end of phase 1, which was the pilot project for what we're trying to do, and it covers bays 1, 2 and 3.
Now, I think, was it 4 years ago this project started? What got you going on it?
Well, I think the fact was that Tom Durrant had this vision that, in fact, the pier should be brought back into use. It was something which is a heritage first for the island, in the sense that there's only one pier on the island, and of course it's in the north, and we don't have that many things in the north.
Yeah, and of course the only one that of the steel construction, is it, or the only one of any?
Well, I think if you bear in mind it's 2,160 feet long. It's the sixth largest one and the longest one in the British Isles, so it's fairly significant.
And this dates back, I think, from memory, 1886 when it was first opened.
Oh, very good, well done. Yes, 1886. It actually was built between 1882 and 1886, but it was opened on July the 22nd, 1886 by the then Bishop.
Well, what was so significant about the piers? What was their main use in the day?
Well, of course, there are two different types of pier, and ours is not an entertainment pier. It's a low-water landing pier. It was built because, of course, Ramsey is a tidal harbour, and the steam packet ships wanted a berth that was always allowing them to be afloat. So that was why they put the pier right out into the deeper water at that time, and it allowed ships to berth at even at low water and still remain afloat.
Oh, so that was the reason for these, to give them a sort of an extra berthing point.
Yes, exactly. And of course, you see, it's only 22 foot wide, apart from at the very start. And that means, of course, it doesn't allow you to put entertainment on, as is in, say, for instance, Southend Pier or Hastings Pier, which you've got lots of entertainment.
Now, when you started this project, there was lots of talk about it for many years, and here we are 4 years later. You've completed the first phase of it, so to speak. Looking back at it, is this a really big achievement because this is the most difficult part?
Yes, it's the most difficult part, but I think it's more than that. It demonstrates that it can be done. There were a lot of naysayers at the start, and I think we were described as a bunch of geriatric farts, which I think is a bit unfair. And I think these geriatric farts have done a fairly decent job. It's not an easy job, and it can be quite hazardous at times, so your health and safety is very important.
What about the things you have to replace on it? I know obviously the decking off it was wood. What about the structures that go into the water?
Well, the legs were looked after by MPM 10 years ago when they did the stability work. So we haven't been involved with the legs. We've been involved with the main decking structure, which starts with the steel girders which sit on top of the legs. And then on top of them are wooden beams, which are transverse, and they're 11 by 4. On top of those, we've got stringers, which are 2.5 inches, and they go longitudinal, because you see, we're building up at what's like a honeycomb. And on top of the stringers, you then have the deck planks. Now, the deck planks on the original pier were made of a hardwood called Opepe, O-P-E-P-E. But we decided that we wanted to use the more modern Eki, E-K-K-I, which has been used by most of the restoration on all the piers throughout the British Isles, and it is sustainable. It comes from West Africa, comes into Belgium, and then from Belgium to Cambridge, and from Cambridge it came across to the island, and it is a harder wood than the OPP, but we hope that it will last, the equal length of time.
When you think of the pier or a structure, I picture, or some people will picture rope bridges with a bit of steel and just one plank across. But when you say this sort of honeycomb way it is, it seems a lot more complex than that.
Well, it also, of course, has got to take the weight of the tame train, and that's why we've laid the railway lines down the centre. The railway lines at the moment, of course, are taking the luggage trolley, which many people will remember as being pushed along the railway lines to have luggage on them. And that was refurbished by men in sheds, and also just come back has been the rebushed wheels, because it was a bit wonky on the rails. So that's just been refurbished as well. And the weight of the train, of course, has got to be taken by the main structure. So obviously it has to be pretty solid, and it is.
Now, how did you... There was a lot of people supporting it, fundraisers, people getting behind it originally. Is that the only reason it's got as far as it has?
Oh yeah, there's no government assistance at all from a cash point of view. They've helped us, with advice and so on, and this is good. They are our landlord, but the fundraising has been wide and varied. The planks themselves were all sponsored by people, and believe me, every day I get either a phone call or an email saying, "When can we buy the next planks from phase 2? We missed out on so there's going to be no problem with the planks." But of course, the main structure costs something like £50,000 a bay, So our next phase, which is 5 bays, we're talking 250 grand to raise. So has got to be of a function of something as simple as tins in shops. It is people who give £10 a month in bank transfer. It's the large trusts who come to us with perhaps £5,000 or £10,000, which enables us to build up the funds to be able to carry on and do the work.
There's a very important event happening later this year regarding Isle of Man government. I mean, it could be a good point to get them in there.
Well, I think I couldn't possibly comment. Certainly our further down the line look is the opening, because we're going to mark the 135th anniversary on the 22nd of July, and it will be reopened by the Governor, for which many thanks, and it will allow us to open, we think, perhaps on a Sunday for general public. The reason that it can't be open all the time is because, of course, if we're working on phase 2, then it becomes a hazardous area, and obviously you can't mix public with the workers.
So it's looking likely that on this day that the public will be able to come and stand on that first phase of the pier and admire what you've done.
As last Sunday, the sponsors of the plaques and planks on bays 2 and 3, they came on, but they were only allowed on in groups of 10. Because, as I say, it's not signed off yet.
But the rest of the steel structure that you say that we can see quite prominently out to the sea as we're looking now, everyone's happy that can stay in place all this time?
I'm not sure that that's exactly correct. The legs, yes, the legs are fine, but the structure which we're replacing gradually is in a pretty poor condition. When I go out to inspect it on there, I'm very, very careful where I put my feet. It's that bad a condition. And that, of course, is why it's being replaced. If nothing is done, then there could be bits falling off, and that's what we don't want.
And if people want to buy a plank or offer their services or anything?
Anything, they can pop in to see us. We're there every morning, except Sunday, from about 9 till 12:30 always, and sometimes in the afternoon, but always between 9 and 12:30. They can call in and have a chat. But please don't chase us for planks until we announce it, and then we're more than happy, because we have a web shop, qprt.im, which will go live when we are able to sell the planks. We can't do that till we have the lease in place.
Brilliant. Well done to you and all your team so far.
Thank you very much indeed.
Captain Stuart Mackenzie, Project Manager for the Queen's Pier Restoration Trust. Just get your pens ready for when the invitation to buy the planks for the next section of it will be becoming available. So
it's absolutely wonderful that they've done such a great job, and obviously all through donations and people's goodwill as well. It's so important that we hang on to some of our history, and like whether it's the Manx cat or whether it's the Queen's Pier there, these are iconic to our island, and we cannot lose this heritage.
No, and I don't suppose you ever got the chance to walk on the pier, did you?
I never did, no, but absolutely beautiful photographs come from up there with the sunrise in the background on some of them, and when people are able to go and enjoy and watch the sunrise come up on that pier, it'll be something else, won't it?
That's it for this week's Countryside. Don't forget, if you want something featured, let us know. countryside@manxradio.com, or leave a message here for Kirree Kermode or Simon Clark at Manx Radio. The podcast is available with the interviews in full, so don't forget to click on that. Doesn't cost you anything, and we'll be back next Tuesday with more. So from me, Simon Clark,
And me, Kirree Kermode.
we'll see you next week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.